Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I'll be providing my book review of the book Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins, the third book in the Hunger Games trilogy, preceded by The Hunger Games and Catching Fire. I read both The Hunger Games and Catching Fire, and I thought they were both brilliant novels. I particularly enjoyed Catching Fire because of the political themes in the first half of the book. I think that Suzanne Collins really stumbled upon greatness and really was able to write an impressive YA first-person narrative. And I don't normally like first-person narratives. What makes this series really great is when you mix the politics with the main character's self-doubt and fears. The fears in this book are very palpable. And I really enjoyed getting to know Katniss. And I think that I enjoyed Katniss the most in book 3 because I'd been on such a journey with her. Now, I am one of those heretics that watched all the movies before I even read any of the books, which is, of course, a huge no-no in the booktube community. However, I decided when I decided to read the books, I was like, I'll see how I feel about them. Because, interestingly, while I think that visually Catching Fire is the best movie, I was most entertained by Mockingjay Part 1. I loved that movie. I thought Mockingjay Part 2 was still entertaining, but I thought Mockingjay Part 1 in particular was a brilliant film, and all the political and the propaganda and the posturing, I thought all of that was great. But unfortunately, I thought that the book did not do justice to the story it needed to tell, and I think the movies actually handled it better. The biggest problem with the book that I would say is the way it handles President Coin. In this book, President Coin feels very one-dimensionally evil. From the moment you meet her, she's very standoffish, she's very rough, she's very rude, and she's very difficult to connect with as a character. In the movies, they are able to at least make her more connected and more sympathetic, and thus it's a bigger deal when it's revealed how villainous she really is. Obviously, there are spoilers for this book in this video, but when she's revealed as a real villain in the movie, it's a big deal, whereas in the book, it's more of a, yeah, I saw that coming. And maybe that's just hindsight of me having watched the movies first, but I felt like she didn't give her enough sympathy in the book. Also, there's just not enough scenes. There's too much of Katniss just thinking about Coin as opposed to Coin talking with Katniss on the page. Coin is really, at best has a cameo on the page. She's never actually physically there, really, except for just a handful of scenes. Whereas in the movies, she's present quite a lot. And so that's where I think the movies did better than the book. Also, the action of the book was way more fast-paced than it needed to be. We were jumping from action sequence to action sequence to action sequence, sometimes within a chapter, and we needed time to slow down. We needed time for Katniss to think about what was happening, for her to connect with Gale. I never was on the Gale train, and I think that this was the book to make me to sell her and Gale's relationship, but it really never felt like it actually worked. And I'm more a fan of the Katniss-Peeta relationship, and that even was not properly handled here. There's not enough time there. Taking Peeta and making him resent her, and then have a full 360 of he's helplessly in love with her to he hates her living guts, back all the way around to he's helplessly in love with her, is an impressive direction to take the book. But I think that this book needed to be longer so that there could be more scenes, just dialogue scenes of him getting to know Katniss. I loved the scene where he and Gale have a conversation about who she would really pick, who she should end up with. And I was like, if we had more scenes like that, but between Gale and Peeta, between Gale and Katniss, between Peeta and Katniss, between Peeta and other characters, maybe with Peeta and her parents, or Gale and her parents. Like there were so many times that we needed just more dialogue. And I know that authors are afraid to write beefy books because they're afraid the audience won't care. And also, you'll notice that all these books are right around that 370, 380, 390 pages. Like, they're all right around the same word count. And so I feel like she needed to just get it all into one little book. But if she had just taken the time, made this a 500-600 page novel, really fleshed out those storylines, given just a bunch of scenes of people in rooms talking about their feelings, boy, would this have been a much better book. And it's sad that she felt so rushed to do it. Some of the action sequences are so rushed that I was like, what just happened? Oh my, we're under attack again and something's happening. And it just needed so much more time. And that's why I'm really glad that they split the movie up and added all these new scenes, because it just needed them so badly. And then I really like the epilogue. I think that is one area that this book nailed, is the epilogue. I think that was the perfect choice. And also, I like how she's kind of singing to her children in the epilogue, and then also it mirrors how she was singing to the people when she sings The Hanging Tree, which is a beautifully worded song, and the way that she explains it to the audience makes you think about the lyrics. That's not just like a little kid book. That's a pretty highbrow literature explanation, which I really enjoyed. But I had the music from the movie in my head from James Newton Howard's score, and it worked really well with the lyrics on the page, and that whole sequence I thought was really well done. So there are sequences in here that are absolutely brilliant. But the problem is that the dialogue just was too rushed. The scenes between characters was too rushed. The action scenes everything just felt rushed. And had she taken her time, slowed it down, this could have absolutely been the best book. And instead, this is the only book that doesn't get a hugely high rating. Instead, this book gets like an 8 out of 10 for me. Still a good book, still highly enjoyable, but it should have been better. And that's why I'm kind of disappointed. Now, I'll give my thoughts on the overall trilogy now that I've finished the overall trilogy. I still think that this is an impressive trilogy. I think that it set trends for YA. It followed some trends while setting others. I think that it is valuable to the YA genre, and I'm glad I read it, and I had such fun with it. I think it'll be a while before I reread it, but I certainly enjoyed it. So those are my thoughts on the Hunger Games trilogy, specifically on Mockingjay. So if you've read this book and this whole trilogy, let me know your thoughts. And did you think it should have been longer, or did you like the pacing and the length that it was? Let me know all that in the comments down below. But until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.